Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our fourth and last episode of the Microsoft Entra Suite webinar series. My name is Amelie Darshekort. I'm a senior product marketing manager at Microsoft, covering Microsoft Entra. And I'm joined today by Pramiti Bhatnagar, who is going to talk about our last scenario for the Microsoft Entra Suite, which is securing and governing access to internet resources. So with this series, we're introducing you to the Microsoft Entra Suite, and we're also exploring some key scenarios that you can unlock with this new offering. If you missed the previous episodes, or if you would like to watch them again, the good news is that all of them are available on demand on Tech Community. And just as a reminder, right, the previous episode, we covered how to onboard new users with the Entra Suite, how to modernize remote access to on-prem applications and remove legacy VPNs. And again, today we'll cover the last one, which is how to secure and govern access to internet resources. And so at the end of this presentation, as always, we'll have an open Q&A. We'll be joined with other product experts, and we'll be answering all of your questions that you will post in the comment section. All right. Before we jump right in, again, I want to start with a very quick recap of the Entra Suite. Hopefully, if you watched the previous episodes, this is now really fresh in your heads and you already memorized all of this. But as a reminder, the Microsoft Entra Suite is comprised of 5 products. So we have Entra Private Access, our Zero Trust Network Access solution, Entra Internet Access, our identity-centric secure web gateway, and Entra ID Governance, our IGA solution, Entra ID Protection, our machine learning-based identity threat protection, and finally, Microsoft Entra Verified ID, our privacy-respecting identity verification. Again, if you've been with us for the previous webinars, this should look familiar. Want to do a quick reminder also of the key benefits of using the Microsoft Entra Suite. So the 4 benefits that we're seeing is 1, the fact that you can unify conditional access with the suite. The second one is ensuring least privilege access for all users to any app and resource, including AI. The third is really focused on user experience with a much simpler and more consistent user experience for any kind of resource from anywhere for all of your employees. And finally, the ability to modernize and reduce your on-premises security footprint by being able to retire any kind of legacy security solutions you have in place. And so with that, with the scenario that Pramiti is going to cover today, we'll focus more specifically on 2 of those key benefits, which is really unifying conditional access and ensuring least privilege access. And with that, over to you, Pramiti.
Thanks, Emily. Hello, everyone. My name is Pramiti, and I am a principal product manager in the Microsoft Entra engineering team. And today I will be taking you through how you can secure internet access using Microsoft's SSE solution. So let's jump right into the internet access scenario with the Microsoft Entra Suite. This is an architectural view of the products within the Microsoft Entra Suite mapped to an enterprise environment and business processes. Products included in the Microsoft Entra Suite help you address key scenarios along the identity and access lifecycle. They are streamline the employee onboarding using Microsoft Entra lifecycle workflows, governing access for all employees and ensuring least privilege access using Microsoft Entra ID Governance, and securing access to any app or any resource with risk-based policies. Today, I will walk you through how to secure access to any app or any resource with risk-based policies, and we'll focus on Microsoft Entra ID Protection and Microsoft Entra Internet Access. Let's take a look at what it takes to set up internet access to provide a baseline policy for all users and to configure a just-in-time policy that enables time-bound overrides. Then, we'll look at the identity protection dashboard, how to act on a compromised user account, how to configure phishing-resistant MFA as a requirement to access high-value applications, and how to block access to high-value applications when access is attempted by high-risk users. Let's do a quick demo from the employee perspective. You may have seen this demo in the very first webinar by Irina, but in case you missed it, let me walk you through it again. Our end user is Violet Martinez, an employee at Woodgrove who has moved from the marketing department to the finance team and needs to share financial documents to a business partner who is using Dropbox for file sharing. In her email, Violet receives a secure link to upload those documents to the partner's Dropbox. She clicks on the link, but at first her access gets blocked. That's because Woodgrove policy prevents access to external storage sites to minimize the risk of data leaks and requires employees to only use Woodgrove's OneDrive and SharePoint for sharing. But because of the established relationship with this consulting firm, Woodgrove has a business exception that allows finance employees temporary access to Dropbox based on business needs. And because Woodgrove connected web filtering policy with conditional access, they can establish granular just-in-time access policies even for external SaaS apps and other internet destinations. From My Access page, Violet requests just-in-time access to Dropbox and specifies that she needs 8 hours. In real time, her request is approved based on the business policy. So she can go back to her email link, access partner's secure Dropbox location, and upload the files that they are expecting. All it takes is a couple of extra clicks for Violet, and it makes such a difference for the security team. There is no standing access to external storage sites, and they have audit log and business justification for each point of access. Now, let's look at how we implement this entire workflow in the Entra Suite. Now let's see how this is configured in the Woodgrove environment. It's important for Woodgrove that their devices are protected from malware. So they have a few categories of websites that they want to block for all users and some websites that they want to allow as an override. You can configure this with an internet access by setting up a baseline policy that includes the web content filtering policies you want to apply. So in the Microsoft Entra Admin Center, expand Global Secure Access and go into Secure and Web Content Filtering Policies. Click the Baseline Internet Access Block rule, and in the basics, you can see that the action is set to block. Now, under Rules, you can see that we have certain categories of websites which are blocked. If we click on Edit, we can see the categories that we have blocked here, which include like websites categorized as alcohol and tobacco, web repository and storage, social media, social networking, finance, and a variety of other websites have been blocked for all the users in Woodgrove. However, we want to allow access to certain websites for some users in the organization, and websites like LinkedIn should be allowed. So for that, we create an allow rule called allow LinkedIn. And here you can see that the action for this rule is set to allow. And since we are allowing only one website, here we are using the FQDN with the destination linkedin.com. Now let's see how we can use this rule to override the other rule which blocks social networking sites. For this, we go to Security Profile and click on Baseline Profile. This profile applies to all the users in Woodgrove. If you expand this, we can see that the Baseline Internet Access Block rule, which blocked a variety of websites, is set with a priority of 200. And the Allow LinkedIn rule is set with a priority of 150, which is a higher priority than the Baseline Internet Access Block rule, which will override the block rule. In addition to the baseline security profile, we also want to ensure that users from the finance department are able to open finance websites even though the baseline internet access rule blocks it. Let's see how we can do that. Going back to web content filtering policies, there is a profile called Allow Finance Sites with an action of allow. Again, looking into the basics here, the action is set to allow, and the web content that is allowed using this rule, the Allow Finance Sites profile, here we have set the web category as finance, which is going to allow all the websites which are categorized as finance. Now, Going back into security profiles, we have created a security profile for users in the finance department. And if we look at the rules under it, we have now applied the allow finance team rule, which allows the finance websites with a priority of 100. In addition, we also want to ensure that only the users whose sign-in risk is low or no risk are allowed access to the finance department. For this, we use conditional access policies. Going into protection and clicking on conditional access, let's see how this is configured. Let's look at the conditional access policy that we have used to configure this. This conditional access policy is scoped to the users in the finance department only, as we have selected only the two groups that have the users in the finance department. The resources that are targeted with this conditional access policy are all internet resources with the global secure access. And the conditions for this policy includes two conditions, which is users whose sign-in risk is either low or no risk. So what this means is that the users whose sign-in risk is high or medium will not be able to access these finance websites. For these users with low or no risk, we are requiring them to provide a phishing-resistant MFA in order to access these finance websites, as you can see here with the authentication strength set to phishing-resistant MFA. And this is where we are actually linking this conditional access policy to the global secure access policy that we just created in the session control. So here we are linking this. The use global secure access profile is set to finance access to finance department, which was the profile that we just created. As we saw in the previous demo, where Violet needed just-in-time access to Dropbox to share some files with a vendor company. Let's see how that is configured. So going back into the web content filtering policies, we look at another profile created, allow Dropbox, with an action of allow. So again, since only one website needs to be allowed, this is set up as a FQDN to Dropbox.com. Now, let's look at the security profile that allows the temporary access to Dropbox.com. Here, we have an additional security profile created, temporary access to Dropbox, where we are using this rule that we had just created with a priority of 100. Now let's see how we can provide just-in-time access to users. For this, we again use conditional access policies. So we use a conditional access policy to provide on-demand access to Dropbox. Let's look how this policy is configured. Again, for this policy, we will be using a group to add the users who need just-in-time access. As you can see, in the groups, we have one group selected, which is Dropbox just-in-time users. And it is again targeted to all the resources on the internet with global secure access. And in the session control, we are linking this to the secure internet profile that we had just created, which was temporary access to Dropbox. Now, let's have a look at how users are added to the just-in-time group. For this, we go into Identity Governance and click on Entitlement Management. Under Entitlement Management, we go into Access Packages and look for the access package that allows this. The access package that allows it is called Finance Team Dropbox Access. We click on this access package to see the resource roles. Now, when we go into the resource roles, we can see that it includes the group just-in-time users that we had just added in the conditional access policy. Going into policies, we can see how are users able to get access into this group. So looking at initial policy, we can see that this access package is available for users in the finance department. Let's see how users can request access to be added to this group. This is done using policies, and we have one policy created. As you can see here, this is available. The users who can request access to this access package are users in the finance department, and all the users in the finance department can request access to this. We can also see that the users can request access for 6 hours and they are not able to extend or reduce this time. This access package also does not require an access review. Now, let's look at the identity protection. So for that, we go into protection and click on identity protection to look at the dashboard. Here, we can understand the threat landscape and act on compromised user account using the information that is available to us in the identity protection dashboard. Here, we can see the number of attacks that have been blocked, the number of users protected, and the number of high-risk users in our environment. Scrolling down, this dashboard also shows the types of attacks that the organization has been attacked with. You can see that the dashboard also provides some recommendations based on the risk exposure and some links to helpful documentation using which we can take corrective action. You can see a map of the risky user behavior and you can see from where the risky user activities are happening. Now let's look at the high risk users in the environment. To do that, we can click on View High Risk Users and it will take us to the risky users page from where we can do more investigation into the high risk users. So let's look at a high risk user here. Clicking on the user at a high risk level, we can see the details that Entra provides us about the user, like their basic information about their username and their roles and where they are located, etc. Clicking on risk history, we can see why this user was listed as high risk. It shows that Entra admin threat intelligence found that this user signed in using an anonymous IP address. Based on this, we can now choose to either confirm the user as compromised or confirm them as safe or dismiss the user risk. Let's recap at what we just saw. So Microsoft Entra Identity Protection provides identity compromise with real-time remediation of high-risk users and sign-ins. We saw in the demo how to configure some of these key functionalities. We saw how we can view the identity protection dashboard and act on a compromised user. We also saw how we can require phishing-resistant MFA for high-value applications and block access to high-value applications for high-risk users. With identity protection, high assurance auth methods, you can use token protection, step-up authentication, and GPS location-based access to authenticate. You can block identity attacks in real time and detect attacks such as token replay using machine learning. You can use risk-based conditional access policies to safeguard resources with continuous access evaluation. Further, Copilot can investigate risky users and summarize in natural language why ID protection flags a user for risk. Finally, let's see what we saw in this session. In this session, we walked you through the steps to secure and govern access to internet resources with the Microsoft Entra Suite. We showed you how to configure web content filtering to block and grant access to websites by role with Microsoft Entra Internet Access, assign a just-in-time user group for Dropbox with Microsoft Entra Internet Access, and block access for high-risk users with Microsoft Entra ID Protection and Conditional Access. With these steps, Microsoft Entra Suite, you can seamlessly and comprehensively secure access and protect your employees. Back to you, Emily.
Thank you so much, Pramiti. That was awesome. Before we jump into our Q&A, I want to share a few resources with you. If you would like to get started right away with the Entra Suite, I would like to share with you the trial. So you can find it at akms/Entra Suite trial. You can get started right away with all the products that we've showcased during those webinars. You can also find more technical documentation on MS Learn. So you can go to akms/Learn Entra Suite. And here you'll be able to find a lot of technical documentations and also deployment guidance. And as always, the tech community is the place to go if you want to stay up to date on the latest announcements and product news for Microsoft Entra. And if you missed our previous episodes, don't worry, they're all available on demand on Tech Community on this event page. So you can feel free to watch and rewatch as much as you want. And now we're going to be joined by some colleagues and experts to answer all of your questions in a live Q&A. So stay tuned. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. We're super excited to be here for our final webinar for the Microsoft Entra Suite covering securing and governing access to internet resources. I'm here with a big group of product experts, so we're here to start answering all of your questions. Before we do that, I want to give a minute to Martin and Marilee to introduce themselves. Hopefully, by this time, you've seen them many times, so you should already know them. But just in case, Martin, Marilee, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Thank you, Amelie. Yeah, my name is Martin Kutzer. I'm a product manager in the Microsoft identity space, and I work with customers all over the world to help them test and deploy the Entra Suite. So I'm very happy to be here.
Marilee?
Thank you. I'm Marilee. I'm also a product manager focusing on Entra Suite and Microsoft Identity. I work on Martin's team, and my main focus is helping customers with their deployment. So I'm very excited to.
That's awesome. All right, so we already got a lot of questions, so we're going to jump right in. And of course, you can continue to post your questions in the chat, so don't hesitate, right? All right, so first question, and actually that's funny because I think we already had a similar question in a previous episode. Martin, I'm going to ask you this one. What is the significance of integrating identity and network security through conditional access?
Yeah, so this is actually the crux of what we're trying to get people to realize with the Entra Suite. By combining identity and network access in one place through conditional access, you have complete control over your zero trust posture. This
Mm-hmm.
is a very fundamental concept that people need to know about, and it helps them to make sure that the security policy that they desire. So, for example, they want to make sure that devices are compliant in their organization, or that only certain people have access to specific apps. All
Mm-hmm.
of those things are then incorporated in the conditional access policies with the network access policies that you've seen Primiti demo earlier. All of those things are on one place. And this is wonderful for IT administrator. IT administrator can look at all of those settings and know, okay, I've configured my environment correctly. The IT administrator doesn't have to go to another system and go and check if that other system is also configured correctly, and maybe hope that the integrations work and so on. So this really helps them to make sure that there's one set of policies, one set of rules, and then they can sleep better at night because they
Yeah,
know they are following zero trust principles.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Martin. Really good to
Mm.
have you back. So that you had some technical issue, but like awesome to have you back. Thank you so much. Um, all right. So another question. I think Parmiti, I'm going to ask this one to you. What are the key advantages that you see or expect by using a secure web gateway / internet access solution from an identity platform provider?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, Emily. And I think something which is very commonly asked by our customers, that why is it a identity centric secure web gateway solution? And I think that an identity centric gateway solution offers several key advantages. A few of them are unified security and identity management. So integrating a secure web gateway with identity management actually allows for a seamless and comprehensive security approach. This integration helps us to eliminate security loopholes and manageability issues that arise from using multiple solutions. In addition, it also allows for a granular policy enforcement using conditional access policies. So, because conditional access policies have been around in Entra for a while, with integrating the secure web gateway with Entra actually helps us extend those conditional access policies to internet access and private access solutions, whereby we can now, what we saw in the demo as well, use the conditional access policy to provide secure access to both internet resources as well as the private resources. And finally, it does provide enhanced threat protection by scanning the web for malicious content such as virus or ransomware or malware, etc. We also try to detect and block phishing attempts, fraudulent websites that are designed to steal credentials, and much more. Again, SSL and TLS inspection, there are various other capabilities that are available, but I think the key of that matter is the user authentication and access control, which the security policies, because they are based on the user identity and group membership or role, they allow more granular control because they are integrated with SSO and authentication.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pramiti. All right, we have another question. So we have some users that access sites that need to be seen coming from our Office breakout IP. Is there a way to redirect this to an internal proxy or via VPN? Martin, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, no, this is a common question we get from a lot of customers, and certainly, yes, it's possible. So obviously, when you set up internet access, you want to basically take the traffic that comes from your clients and redirect it through the secure web gateway for Microsoft so that you can manage the traffic. Now, we know that there's many organizations that have strange configurations, or they have this type of requirement, like they want to allow specific users to access sites from their devices directly. And so the way that we implement this is what we call a custom bypass policy. So with a custom bypass policy, you can configure IP address ranges, which then tells your client, the GSA client, not to proxy those requests to the gateway, our gateway, and then it will go directly to those sites, and you have complete control, and those sites will then see your local internet as coming from those clients. So that is how it's done with the custom bypass policy.
Awesome. Thank you, Martin. All right, Pramiti, I have a question for you because I think it's also related to what you've demoed and showed in the session. At Ignite, we announced a partnership with Netscope for internet access. And the question is, can you explain the Netscope integration with the Microsoft Entra Suite?
Yeah, of course. So, well, with the Netscope partnership, this integration combines Netscope's advanced threat protection and DLP capabilities with Microsoft Entra Internet Access, and it provides a security framework for organizations that are using Microsoft services, and they can still continue to leverage their investments in Netscope and using its advanced security features as well. So it involves a lot of steps like installing and configuring, etc. This partnership is still in preview though. And what you can do is you can purchase that component using Azure Marketplace, and all integrations, including routing, monitoring, and support, it can be managed using GSA. And you can have a look at our articles, and there is a lot of documentation that is available on Microsoft Learn on how you can configure this integration further.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of information in the tech community blog as well. So there's actually a link. So AKMS/Entra Netscope. You can find all this information that Pramiti just shared. Awesome. All right, Marilee, now that we have you back in the chat with us, I have a question for you. Can the GSA client support logging in with alternate credentials from a different tenant or only from the home tenant of the device?
So this is a frequently requested scenario, but currently we only support signing into the home tenant where the user and device are homed, but B2B support is being prioritized. Can't offer a specific timeline, but we've received this request a lot, so we're definitely prioritizing this work.
Awesome. And then I think I have another question for you, Pramiti, here. So regarding internet access, does the internet traffic get proxied by Microsoft services or routes direct from the client after rules are processed? It's a long question. If all traffic is tunneled via Microsoft Entra, A, can specific websites be split out so that they do not get proxied via Microsoft? And B, do clients get a sticky outgoing IP via Microsoft?
Yeah. So part of this question was already answered in the
Yeah.
previous question that we had. So Martin already covered that. So yeah, uh, the the internet traffic does get proxied through Microsoft, but if you want to single out certain websites, or if you want to split IPs, split out certain traffic so that it does not get proxied via Microsoft, you can do
Mhm.
that using the custom bypass policies that Martin was just talking about. And that way, that traffic will directly flow through the internet and it will not be tunneled through the Microsoft proxy services. Well, we do not configure a sticky IP for any traffic that is configured through our services. And that was
Awesome.
the second part of the question.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Cool. Other question for you, I think, Martin. Is internet access for Microsoft apps included in the Microsoft Entra Suite?
So yeah, this is actually great news for people. We do have I don't know if you saw in the demo, but there's the three traffic profiles. So we have the Microsoft traffic profile, we have the private access profile, and we have the internet access profile. So there's a specific profile, the Microsoft profile, that covers all the Microsoft apps. So that includes Teams and Exchange and all of those applications. And that profile is actually covered under a P1 or P2 license. So if you have Microsoft Entra ID P1 or P2, or you have the bigger license, which is a E3 or E5 license, then you can use your GSA, the Global Secure Access Mechanism, to secure traffic from your clients to those Microsoft services, and you don't need the Entra Suite. Now, obviously, we want you to go and get the Entra Suite because we think a lot of the functionality, like combining that with governance features, makes a lot of sense for your organization, and you want to govern access to all these resources and also to your private resources and so on. But if you just want to do your Microsoft applications, then the Microsoft traffic profile is for you, and that is part of your P1 or P2 licensing. And it may be a great way for you to start off with your deployment of global secure access. A lot of organizations are looking at how can they secure their traffic to Microsoft services, and by going down this route, they can actually get the agents deployed to the machines, and they will be confident that the Microsoft traffic will be secured because it goes to Microsoft services. And then you can start doing that POC. Remember, we shared the link of the trial. You can start your trial to go and play with private access, internet access, and the ID governance, and also with the verified ID functionality. And you can start playing with those things, but you already have your Microsoft apps secured because you're using that functionality with P1 or P2.
Awesome. And again, right, like you mentioned the trial of Entra Suite. So just going to read this link that we have, akms/Entra Suite trial. Just like Martin said, you can get started right away with the Entra Suite and just try out all the different capabilities that we did demoed during those sessions. All right, so we have a few more questions. Marilee, I think this one will be for you. How does web content filtering work for global secure access?
So I think we saw a great demo of the configuration of this during this session, but to summarize how it works, web content filtering works by protecting web content at the network level and enforcing network level restrictions. So we have categories for things like gambling or cryptocurrency mining, and you can then create security profiles to add as many categories as you would like. You can create a baseline profile that applies to your organization regardless of what conditional access policies you have in place. But then you can also integrate the profiles with conditional access to make them user and context aware. So there's a great level of customization here, and it's a very easy setup and easy way to secure your internet traffic.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Another question coming in. Can you block uploads but allow downloads for personal email and file sharing, such as sites such as Dropbox? Pramiti, I think this is really related to what you demoed, right? Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So, blocking uploads to personal email or Dropbox, you can do that using the integration that we have with Netscope that we just talked about, and also using Microsoft products like Microsoft Purview DLP, which is outside of Entra, but the Microsoft Purview Data Loss Prevention, you can create those kind of DLP policies that will prevent uploading of content into any site that you choose to block.
Sounds good. So just leveraging, the Purview, products here,
Yeah.
most. Yep.
Yeah, and I also want to add that with this Nesco product, one of the cool features that they have is what they call detonation. So if you download something that is malicious, they will download that on your behalf first, and they would put it in a detonation system that allows it to execute that malicious code, and then they look at what it's doing. Is it doing a callback to another website, or is it doing something malicious on that VM? And then they can potentially like block this. So not just like known threats, but they sort of do that on the fly so that you will be able to protect your devices and your users from zero-day threats as well. So
Yeah.
that is a very important distinction. So you want to make sure that you can block those things, and your Netscope capability will allow that.
Awesome.
Hmm.
All right, I think we're getting to the end here. We have one last question. And I think, Martin, I'm actually going to ask this one to you. So for customers that are leveraging Microsoft Defender for endpoint, does Internet Access replace Defender for endpoint capabilities, such as the web category filtering, or should we use them together?
Yeah. So again, this is something that a lot of people ask us, is they feel they get this sort of feeling that these things are similar, and that's true. They are similar. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is really the client that you run on your devices, and your not only your desktops and laptops, but also your mobile devices, that protects those devices from threats and malicious actions by whatever the user does, like downloading content and so on, and apps and so on that they shouldn't download. And so it protects those devices from those components. Where the internet access side does this broad category protection. So it protects your devices from users going to sites that maybe could be a productivity issue. If somebody has access to a gambling site, that could distract them, and they prevent them from doing work. So you want to prevent that gambling site. It may not be malicious, or some people may not consider gambling as malicious, but for your organization, that could be something that you want to prevent. So you want to prevent that type of category. So those broad categories really help you to protect your reputation of your organization, because you don't want people to go to like a gambling site or to another site that shouldn't be viewed by people in your organization. The good news also is you have this client on the mobile devices, and we piggybacked on those clients for GSA for mobile devices. So for mobile devices, you don't have to install a specific GSA client for doing the internet access filtering, but you will just use the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which is on iOS and Android, to protect it. So it's built into those organizations. So it's very closely coupled with those apps. And so it just makes sense to have all of that functionality together there. But on the devices, the laptops and desktops, those are separate applications, and they fulfill separate functionalities.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Martin. Thank you, everyone. I think we're wrapping up here. We don't see any more questions. So any parting thoughts, advice, Martin, Merity, Pramiti, anything that you would want to share with the audience? That's also the end of our webinar series, right? So we covered all three of the key scenarios of the Entra Suite. So how you can streamline the onboarding of end users, how you can modernize remote access and replace VPN with the Entra Suite. And today with Pramiti, like how you can secure and govern access to internet resources. Team here, anything that you would want to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, so I want to just mention that this is a beginning of a wonderful journey in terms of securing your workforce. So there's a lot of things that is available in these products. And if you look at how we combine them to unlock value, this is very much a case of one product plus another product gives you three products that you can deploy, and the capabilities that you unlock combining these different things. The example that you saw, that you're not just preventing people from going to Dropbox, but you're giving users access for a short period of time to do a specific function. That is just amazing, and you can build upon these things in your own environment to make sure that you cater for the different audiences in your organization. And this is not the end, because we are building a lot of functionality into the product to make it better. So you will see things like Copilot. We've just recently announced new functionality with lifecycle workflows that gives you advice on how you set up your lifecycle workflows for ID governance. And that is things that you will see pop up all over the Entra Suite. And so this will give you guidance and do analysis and help you troubleshoot those configurations so that you will always have the optimal configuration of your Entra Suite. And it will make it really easy for people to use this functionality.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a very good point. It's definitely something AI is like a big, feedback we hear from customers. There's like an increasing usage of AI tools, and how to secure access to those Gen AI apps is definitely a top of mind for a lot of our customers. So that's a very good point. Yeah, for sure. There are a lot of new capabilities will be around that in the future for the Entra Suite. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again, everyone. It was a pleasure to have this series for the last few 3-4 weeks, actually, covering all this content, right? Again, everything stays available on demand, so you can continue to go on Tech Community, watch and rewatch those sessions. You can continue to post questions. If any questions come up, we'll obviously monitor those chats and make sure to get back to you. So do not hesitate. We're here to answer all of your questions and stay available if you want to learn even more about the Entra Suite. So with that, thank you so much, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.